big scaling picks like the Gangplank and like the Kaisa, and they can take over lane.
Yeah, I mean, Lwx at the LWX, they call him a shotgun in the LPL because he is not afraid to dive in, into the back of these fights and absolutely take over team fights. He's one of the most aggressive late game team fighters that I think you are going to see at this tournament. And, FunPlus is an incredibly frightening team, also largely in part due to their snowballing, right? This is a team that is 25-1 in the LPL with a lead at 15. When they get any sort of advantage, it feels like the game is over. And this is, the kind of things that pros are telling me from playing against this team. It feels like one person anywhere on the map messes up, you lose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the stat is something like if they're 1,000 gold ahead at 15, they triple it by the time it gets to 20. They're just insane.
Yeah, the stat is basically on average, they triple their gold lead. No matter what that lead is, they'll triple it. So they are massive in the mid game, and FunPlus, again, many people's #1 team at Worlds right now for things like that.
Yeah, and I think that this is a team that people are going to quickly fall in love with, despite if you haven't seen them, because in every role we're going to be throwing out, unique characteristics. And I think the last thing I want to mention is how well they dive turrets early. This is a team that doesn't need level 4 or level 3. Most of the time, like we saw at Rip Rivals, like level 2 is enough for Doinb to be under your bottom lane turret. So I think that they can set up plays much quicker than other teams.
And execute much quicker because there's no hesitation, right? A lot of people will talk about, well, if you know the dive is coming, why can't you prevent it, right? It's because they give you no time. There's no hesitation. They're going to be 4-man flashing on you and immediately killing someone off before you can actually turn around to play. But on the other side, certainly FoFo looking to get things done here for J-Team. He is the standout player. And Doinb, while he is an incredible mid laner, he's less known for his laning. And that is where, if you are J-Team, I think you are really hoping that you can start to get some advantages.
We'll see Nautilus grabbed off the plate first of all, likely a support pick. We've seen him go elsewhere as well. As there is the Kaisa. There's what we were expecting Lwx to play. Ult into the back line, take out the carries himself. With the rest of the squad setting up, and Tian, incredible jungle. We'll see what he's going to grab for the squad.
Yeah, and I would expect to see that they just very much prioritize some form of shoving bottom lane. We've already talked about the fact Nautilus has been taken away. That is one of the best laning matchups for the Kaisa pairing. However, second time we could potentially see Galio today, and it certainly fits a similar build and also can lend to that mid lane dive as well. FPX, unlike a lot of other LPL teams, I feel like has a very good read on kind of the meta and how they want to execute around it. Has been certainly a problem for the region in the past, but I don't think this team suffers as much from that.
Well, waiting to see what comes through as you've got the Jarvan locked in, the Xayah here as well. So J-Team have a pretty standard team fighting composition. A lot of crowd control, good engage to carry.
And I like the fact that already J-Team are prioritizing Hana's pick, because this is a player that swapped from AD carry, is very young, and he's kind of an emotional player. I've been described to him from other people that if he gets behind, if he starts to struggle in the early game, can get lost on Summoner's Rift, does need some leadership from FoFo, and we'll see that he would just gravitate or hover around that mid lane. And I feel like that's kind of against the grain of how we're seeing junglers at the moment. They need to be able to be fluid. They need to be able to pair up with their support in particular. So giving Hana the best pick that they can for him right now does play towards that style.
It certainly does, but Tian on the other side, is going to be having this Elise, an early game powerhouse, certainly one of those top tier picks, someone who can look to facilitate dives as FPX likes to do. But, J-Team certainly deserved their due. They were one of the most dominant teams we have seen, come out of the LMS in a very long time, absolutely crushing through the summer split and certainly earning their spot here.
And they haven't lost the whole of the split, right? I feel like that is something that is incredibly hard to do, even domestically. You'll see teams, maybe phone in a game or not bring their A game just because it is such a long split. These guys still play best of 3, so there is multiple games to be able to create that upset. I think they lost 7 games across the entirety of it. They won 28. That is just incredibly impressive. And this is a team that, much like TPA, when they first catapulted the LMS onto the world stage, would want to re-emerge as a dominant team on the at Worlds, because they haven't been able to execute on it for so long now. It really has been Flash Wolves, a splash of AHQ, and then Finn to the LMS.
Definitely agree. It's going to be, we'll see if it's going to be a resurgence for the LMS. I think the last 13 months have been really, really disappointing as Sion gets locked in. But to finish the point, a bad showing at MSI, a bad showing at the last World Championship. J-Team going to be trying to lead the charge here to say, no, LMS, we are still good. And we'll see if they can make that happen here as locks come through.
odds on that being a mid lane Sion?
I think they're pretty good. I think it's certainly possible here from Doinb. You know, it could be going up to Gimgoon. Certainly, his GP banned out. That is his most played. You know, Doinb, most played for him is actually the Rise. So certainly targeting the solo laners there was J-Team. Doinb kind of known for some of his innovative Rise builds. You know, kind of pioneering things like this, you know, Righteous Glory Rise and kind of playing the Rylai's as well, trying to play in those side lanes. Gimgoon, I think, is one of the best weak side top laners in the entire tournament, if not the best weak side top laner in the tournament. So certainly would not be shocked to see him put on that Sion if they want to save some sort of a more lane-focused pick here for Doinb in the mid lane.
And the LPL is still one of those regions that has a good splash of hard carry top laners and then weak side top laners. And I do agree with you. You have a look at people like Longxing, like Flandre, like the Shy.
This would be Gimgoon's Mordekaiser. You know, he has certainly played this quite a bit in the LPL, so that would make it very likely, you know, a mid Sion. It is possible this is Sion support, Galio mid, so there is some flexing that could come out here, but I am expecting this Mordekaiser to go top here for Gimgoon.
Well, exciting draft ahead onto this one. Pretty strong team fight comp for J-Team with an Akali there for some extra textures. We'll see if FoFo can do a lot to carry. Meanwhile, FunPlus Phoenix, 20 seconds left still to switch things around if they want to. There's maybe the Sion and Galio swapping, but mid Sion is an LPL special, honestly. You permanent shove mid. He got several buffs over the last couple of patches, kind of bringing him back into the meta. Doinb was one of those kind of original Sion mid innovators. This is going to be very exciting.
And so much of the damage is going to come out of Lwx and his Kaisa. You know, I already feel like we are going to be seeing those 4 or 5 man bot lane plays, likely seeing Gimgoon play weak side of the map, Doinb pushing out, Tian grouping up with him, looking for 4-man plays down towards that bottom side, and we're going to have to see our Lilv and Koala.
Welcome back to Summoner's Rift, FunPlus Phoenix. If this is your first time seeing them, buckle up. It's going to be a pretty quick ride, potentially. One of the very strongest teams in the world. They lost a single match this split across the LPL. They won regular season in spring. They won regular season in summer. They finally won the tournament in summer here as well. Incredible, incredible squad. Incredible players. They're a great team.
And LPL has been waiting for Doinb to be on the international stage for such a long time. We'll also take you through the fact that J-Team is the similar situation, 12-0 throughout regular season, smashing through those playoffs as well, 3-1 versus AHQ in the final. But Doinb played with Swift. He came over on Chaogu Reapers, and then, you know, throughout different roster swaps, he finally found his way to FPX. And it's always been Doinb throughout the regular season that has been able to have fantastic performances. This guy is fluent in Mandarin, he's a fan favorite, and he has always stumbled to make it to these international events. Well, that all changed this split. Pairing him with Tian this year was just such a great move because the aggression is finally there, and we finally have a playstyle similarity for Doinb to be able to play around, which I don't think we've had since he did play with Swift.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You know, they have been working incredibly well together. You know, their synergy is very impressive to see, and it's also, I think, kind of a gelling of playstyles here that has worked very well for them. You can see Doinb actually going for that spellbook. This is something he often does on Nautilus as well. You know, looking to perhaps swap over for things like the Ignite for more kill pressure when he is either looking for those 2v2s or moves down towards the bottom side. And something I also want to talk about a little bit is this Mordekaiser versus Gnar matchup. And in the early levels, it can be quite difficult for the Mordekaiser, but post 6, there certainly is the potential to actually look for solo kills, because when the Gnar is actually on, you know, that kind of exhausted state where you cannot get into Mega, and you ult him as the Mordekaiser, he's locked in with you, you know, with those lower base stats without the ability to necessarily kite you around as well, and Mordekaiser can certainly look to really punish that.
And on top of that, if you're going to lose priority, you're going to be shoved in, he's one of the best anti-dive champions in the game. He just makes every scenario a 1v1, right? So if we think that this is going to play out in the fashion that we've seen so many FPX games play out during the regular season, the inability to cross-map trade against a Mordekaiser is so crucial.
Player to watch, but certainly FunPlus, I feel like it's the likely formula is pushing in the mid lane, going down to the bottom lane, getting your shotgun loaded and giving him a couple of shells to blast the opposing squad. Here he's got a fight in the bottom lane right there, though, and ouch, a lot of damage towards Crisp.
Yeah, that was actually a really nice little trade there from J-Team, and I also like the timing of when they backed off. You know, if they are to stay in too long, get taunted up, if Lwx is able to proc a passive hit there, then the trade can really even out. So a good quick trade from J-Team, and that is going to help them have priority on this bottom side scuttle. Hana knows he has, you know, the early move from his bot lane if there were to be any sort of challenge from Tian.
And I think that this is an area where Hana is showing kind of the fact that he wants to be able to support on the side of the map that we think is going to come under fire. There's no point being able to go towards top lane if you think that immediately the trade is going to be down bottom because the additional resources and gold. I've already spoken about this, but as a jungler, you hate to lose bottom side control when you're on blue side. It just means that you fall so far behind on experience and level. So I think that this first path has been able to shore up what should be now a level 6 on Jarvan and the ability to impact the map. If you run into Elise early game, especially when she has red buff, she can be such a pain to deal with, and has been able to navigate that successfully.
Yeah, she certainly can, and there's always, you know, one of the things we like to talk about is kind of the pressure on Elise to make early game plays. Elise is certainly a champion that you want to be proactive with, that you want to be making things happen in those early levels and not necessarily dedicating as much time as some other junglers to farming. Whereas Jarvan is going to be completely happy, you know, going a full tank route. And Tian just able to actually stop the recall there, which is actually fairly annoying because Doinb used his teleport to get back to lane. FoFo has no teleport, so that is actually going to cost him some gold and experience, especially if Doinb did elect to allow some of those minions to get denied, and he is going to be able to push that in, deny some of that experience.
Yeah, Hana picks it up, gets a little bit of XP for himself to keep up with this Elise, but otherwise, look at top lane. They know Akali's walking back to mid. Misses the pull, but it's still a 3v1. Big damage onto the Gnar, not close to Mega at all. And the minion wave actually pulled off. This is actually really well done, but the stun's still going to land. They've got the damage up, but first blood comes through to Gimgoon, and out they walk.
And this is what I'm talking about. There's no hesitation. They didn't actually have the perfect setup there, but they knew they didn't need it. As long as they made that dive happen before Hana arrived, there's no chance for Rest to be able to actually fight back.
And Rest played that nearly perfectly, right? You mentioned it, Phreak, but he was able to stop that wave from crashing. That means that, you know, 2 or 3 shots are going across before he's even in any immediate danger, but it is that no hesitation, that just pull the trigger playstyle that is going to be there. And, you know, I kind of said it'd be so embarrassing if they just continue to play towards this top side of the map, but that's a really good wave control from Gimgoon to set that up. It had been pushed in, protects his wave on the bounce, and is able to set up that dive.
400 gold richer, plus the extra CS he's got. This is already a 600 gold lead to FunPlus Phoenix as the first few recalls coming through to the bottom lane as well. And nothing too surprising on either side as Hana keeps trying to farm, but has not found the same success that Tian already has.
And I'm going to be really interested to see where Doinb actually does elect to go with this build. If it is something like a Sterix Rush, which we had kind of seen from solo queue in the past with these mid Scions. You know, I wouldn't be too shocked, and it does actually add quite a bit of early game damage and tankiness. Certainly not as much in the later stages as something if you were to rush like a Randuin's or whatever, but can be very, very powerful.
There's 2 really good mechanics that make Sterix great on Sion. The first of which is he has really, really high base AD, so just the attack damage it grants is very high, and his ratios are good, and that's all fine and dandy. The other half, though, is the entire point of the Sion kit is the extra health you gain with your W through the passive. It's bonus HP, which is what the shield scales off of. So it actually double scales the W passive because it's 75% bonus HP shield, and he has more bonus HP than any other champion in the game.
And he hits turrets real hard with it.
Yeah.
One of the things that Sion is able to do with that Demolish proc, it's just destroy turrets. You can ult them as well if you really don't need the ulti. It's just a couple of strange mechanics built into an otherwise fun champion.
I mean, it's still fun for the Sion.
Yeah, it's great. Demolisher.
What else
now,
you got?
Round 2 into the mid lane.
Got a big hammer.
He's also a choo-choo train.
Any other fun Sion facts?
Which the LPL has been known for, with great trains in their compositions. And now another fight in the bottom lane. Big hit, though. This is Lwx forced to run away. Ignite is on him. He's already burned Summoner Heal. Second root's going to come through pretty soon.
Here comes Tian.
Cooldown, and this could be a gank. But both junglers now spotted. Out they go. Low health bars on both sides.
And this is what you were talking about, Azael. You know, that elongated trade there. It looked like it was very heavily in favor. However, as soon as the spell rotation comes out from that Galio, it swings back towards the Kaisa. That 5-hit passive is something you very much have to play around in the laning phase. And I think that, you know, just a little bit of an overstay and overreach there. However, still a fairly even bottom lane.
And it's also going to be something you're going to have to track in team fights because there's so much CC to actually add stacks of the plasma for the Kaisa come 5v5 time. You know, between the Galio knockup with the ultimate, the taunt, the Justice Punch, you know, multiple knockups and CCs there coming from the Sion as well. It does become very, very threatening, and it's actually a lot of extra damage being added in for this Kaisa.
And typically when this is the kind of comp, you want Kaisa to be able to build AP. However, the flexibility in it means that with, you know, so many ability power threats on the map, this is a very easy flex into the old AD build there for Lwx as well. Early Dragon started up here. Feel like they don't have complete control over their waves, and FoFo has sacked mid lane right now to rotate first to it.
Tian walks away, a big root though on the bottom side. They pull him right back in. This could be the death for Chris, but he's able to jump away just in time. Stays away at 200 HP.
Yeah, and Doinb is coming down. You have to remember, Gimgoon has TP advantage. That's why they're starting this up, because Rest cannot join. So you can see him backing off, and he's now going to TP in here.
5v4, guaranteed numbers advantage as he comes in to fight the bottom lane, and now it's just, yeah, on the backside is J-Team not going to try to steal it. There's a spike coming through. FunPlus Phoenix, sub 9-minute Infernal Drake.
And I like the fact that they can test softly enough that they make Gimgoon burn the teleport. But then as soon as they see it, they just back away. They equalize that. They're going to trade for some turret plates in the top lane. And this is what we expect to see out of J-Team. They're not the explosive team. They want to just continue to lane and drag this game out. But you still have to keep the other team honest and make them burn those resources.
Yeah, you definitely do. I think it was well played from J-Team, you know, from their position to actually force out that teleport. But at the same time, certainly well worth it here for FunPlus to be able to grab a big ticket dragon like that Infernal and utilizing their teleport advantage to great effect.
Yeah, overall cost is about 300-ish gold and 300-ish experience as the plate and the two waves are lost. I will still take Infernal Drake for that, don't get me wrong, that's still a positive, but J-Team make them punish about the maximum they could have, two full waves.
And the thing is, you just have to, you know, be honest about the mistakes you made 3 minutes ago. You know, I got dove top lane, I had to burn my teleport, otherwise the laning phase was going to be over. And the way you do that and not snowball the mistake is don't, you know, try and cheat off the wave and come down and join the fight. You're already behind, and then, you know, they just stay top lane, they start taking plates, and they really start to strangle you out of the objectives. And that's what I think that J-Team will be able to do. And we're kind of mentioning it about TL as well, that consistency, that ability to come onto the Rift and just play the 7 or the 8 out of 10 every single game and take the small victories when they have them, but also allow you to take your victories when it is your just desserts.
Yeah, certainly the case. And we are seeing, honestly, a pretty close game, all things told. You know, FPX certainly has not been able to completely ramp up the early game. The laning has, for the most part, been going completely fine here for J-Team. Yes, there was that one dive on the top side, but FPX have certainly not snowballed this out of control by any means. The Jarvan is post-level 6, you know, sitting on a completed Cinderhulk, so he's going to be feeling pretty happy about that. And Doinb just going to drop the Ignite, start cycling through the spellbook.
Yeah, that's the old Reginald tactic. You know, the additional 5 AD and AP they're going to come across. But I think a lot of this early game is because Lilv and Koala are outperforming Lwx and Chris so far. Multiple trades, multiple summoner spells have been burnt down there. And you can see now that Tian wants to impact that side of the map because he has spent his full last rotation down there. But this is a very impressive start to the game from J-Team's bottom lane duo.
And now they're going to all walk together through this side of the map. Support, mid laner, and jungler all push in and look at the Raptors, look at the opposing wards, and walk that one back. No great offensive items yet for Rest, but is trying to continue to push in the top side as Ninja Tabby helps keep Gimgoon alive up there. Koala walks through his own jungle, and it's spotted by wards the whole time. Looks like this will be easy enough to take down this Rift Herald as well.
Yeah, and as we are kind of sitting in this slower game state right now, we can talk a little bit about, you know, how these compositions may play out in the later stages. And I do think, you know, when you are looking at J-Team and you have things like the Akali, like the Gnar, you are looking more heavily to the side lanes, trying to split up the map, trying to keep this composition spread out for FPX, who really is going to want to kind of establish these battle lines with all of these tanky members in front of the Kaisa, protecting her, enabling her in these team fights. And, you know, J-Team wants to try to spread you out and make picks and make skirmishes happen in smaller numbers.
So then you have to look at the ability to force. And what better tools than a Sion and a Galio ult to be able to crush the 3. I think the strength of this 3 from J-Team is that Xayah's through damage on minion waves is actually quite high for an AD carry. It's something we used to talk about for champions like Victor, like Xerath, and the ability to leave the feathers behind is a very good anti-dive tool as well. So certainly one of the better defensive 3 options available up there with Ezreal, but I do feel like there are enough tools to force on that mid lane.
see J-Team wanting to play through the bottom lane. Herald summoned very quickly. They want to make sure Lilv gets the gold here in this one. Should take at least 2 plates. A little bit of injury on that turret. Hana's going to share a little bit of it here as well, but now there could be a fight in the river, and it's not going to be anyone getting the plate gold, but there's still a fight going across. Giant knock-up. Koala's going extinct now. Takes him out, and that's going to be this Herald getting nothing gained.
Yeah, remember, ladies and gentlemen, treat your koalas with respect. That one has been firmly placed on the ground at this stage, and that was just, once again, decisive play, because look at how J-Team had the map set up. They have teleport advantage. They have the ability to generate a 5v4. Hold that thought, FoFo. Not in trouble, no ultimate available there for Doinb. So everything there looks like it's J-Team setting up on the correct side of the map, but that decisiveness, that ability to pull the trigger straight away results in a kill, and the Rift Herald being wasted there.
Yeah, I mean, they do still get, a couple plates, so it's basically evened out on the play,
Well, it's damage dealt, but no one was in range for plate gold.
Yeah.
So yes, the turret is injured, that's fine, but that's 320 gold left on the table, not picked up. Do not pass go. And a nice smite makes Tian also take away the red buff, so 1,600 gold lead, almost 14 minutes in.
And this is also setting them up very well for this next dragon, right? The dragon is spawning in 10 seconds here. If you are trying to look for the hard engage, you are trying to look to be the ones that actually start these proactive fights, then certainly the Cloud Dragon can be very beneficial in that regard.
And generally when you play 4-1, someone has to catch their way very deep, right? You're expecting the tier 1 side lane to go down, and then someone like either the Sion or the Mordekaiser to have to just sprint between these lanes. Most of the time, there's a lot of control on that side of the map. You do have to go the long way. So I think that this isn't Dragon you would certainly want if you're FPX. On the flip side, it's kind of a win more asset right now for J-Team, because they're going to be the team sitting in that 1-3-1 for the longer period.
Attempt for the Cloud Drake right now, gonna pull in. This could be Koala sacrificing himself just to prevent a smite, and he'll at least guarantee the Drake goes over to J-Team. Stopwatch burned, and oh! The solo kill for Lilv. I'd be okay with that trade, but now the fight might continue. Galio over the top now as well. No knockups yet for Chris, but there's still the fight going in. They're gonna knock down Hana finally, but it's traded back by FoFo. Now the fight can use towards Koala, but Chris doesn't have the damage. Lilv chasing him down. He flashes, but why? There's no way out. J-Team take the fight 3-1. They get the Drake as well.
And the disrespect from FPX there, they did not have the teleport advantage again, and they still go for the contest this time. They're not able to make the decisive play. The team fight is split, and J-Team make them pay.
And so much of it is about that outplay from Lilv. He actually hit the root on Lwx as he was looking for the ultimate, and you can't actually ultimate when you are rooted up there, so he got burst down. And it's really all about this fight on the side, because we talked about how important the Kaisa is for this team. Lwx just walks straight into Lilv, looking for that 1v1. The root comes through, the heal goes out, but he dies before the root expires, meaning he can't get the ultimate shield. And J-Team playing this out well.
And this is a part of the fight that you would expect Kaisa to be flying into the backline, looking to clean up, but not available. Teleport had already been channeled, and you can see Gimgoon can do nothing but push topside in. So it is a genuine 5v3 at the meaty end of that team fight.
Yeah, it certainly is. And when you're looking at, the strengths of Sion and Galio, is a Tian for the invade finding Hana.
Oh, that's not going to be easy. Poor Jarvan taunted back in, and Tian grabs the goal into that one. Makes the game a little bit nicer for the FunPlus side, but at 50 minutes, that was only a 500 gold lead in this game. They did not crack the early game open as much as they would have liked.
And I do want to draw attention to where Koala is, sorry, Phreak, because he's still down bottom lane, and this is an area that I have criticized the LMS teams. Their lack of fluidity, they do sit in lanes, right? I was speaking to Raz Frostgurun, and they were saying this is the best kind of LPL support lineup they've ever taken to Worlds. You've got 3 world-class supports for the first time, and Chris showing the fact that he is willing to just leave Lwx down there to farm, team up with Tian, and create something on the flip side of the map.
And they do get that kill, but it does cost them a turret on the bottom side, so J-Team trading back and forth very well here, and you're seeing FoFo, when you do hit that Gunblade in a tank matchup, it's really difficult now for the tanks, because even with this Derrick's, this more aggressive build, Doinb simply can't really outpace the healing that FoFo is actually putting out with this build.
And I feel like that was one of the biggest changes that people slept on for new Akali, is how well she deals with side lane tanks and how hard it is to return damage onto her as the tank in that matchup. And as the lane is going to get longer, that's when Doinb is going to have to start ulting away, start burning resources that he wants for the team fight. So I think that, at this stage of the game, and I was saying it about down one last time around, when you're at your item to item and a half in a 1-3-1, you have to be able to take gold objectives. There's no point just sitting there and allowing, the traditional comp to get towards 3 items, because you will most likely lose. And this is, again, the exact same scenario. They've got so well to this part of the game. It's only a 1,500 gold deficit, which against FPX I would certainly take. they need to now be able to push through objectives and take turrets.
A couple of interesting things worth noting is with the stone plate done for Doinb, I want to point out the item is not efficient if you're going to 1v1. It only doubles the armor MR if you're around 3 opponents. Otherwise, you're putting a lot of gold on the table doing nothing. So he's not really well poised to do that 1v1.
And I think it speaks to what they want to do, right? You know, he knows that this composition is to team fight. He doesn't want to play to the 1v1. You know, he doesn't want to be sitting in the sideline with the Akali, so he's going to build for the 5v5, and we're going to see FPX looking to set up around objectives and looking to force, you know, J-Team's hand, make them come to him.
The rest of the squad sitting in the fog of war. They know that Brush is not worried with the own control where they've got. Hana senses something, puts the flag down, now sees the squad. That's not going to be Cocoon that lands. Look to the sweep, not going to get anything as Crisp's side, and looks like they can walk away. Word comes down.
But you can see, whilst we've been talking about how this is a period of strength for J-Team, both of their side lanes are currently back behind the river. They're not in a position to be able to be proactive on the map. The only area they have push is mid lane due to Lwx. However, Doinb now potentially being collapsed on. However, the rotation from Crisp and Tian is always just right behind the mid laner of FPX.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that really complicates this kind of side lane play for J-Team is you always have to be tracking Crisp. This Galio ultimate can turn around any potential 1v1 or even 2v1 in certain cases, so I certainly have to be tracking him very, very well. You can see Gimgoon now has his Leandries working towards his Zhonya's, and we'll see, you know, when he joins the fight, if he is going to be looking more for ultimates on easy kills or trying to use the ultimate to actually take key members out of the fight. You know, especially with these Zhonya's builds, you can actually look towards ultimating a big carry like Lilv and just removing his damage from the fight and putting faith in your team winning that 4v4.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to stress the fact that whilst we talked about FPX's early game so much, that they are still an LPL team. They can still 5v5 team fight. Yeah. They still have the tools to do it in this game as well. And this is, you know, Lwx has been attributed more towards a Deft or a Name style player. He's not known for his laning prowess. Sure, he'll get the shove in matchups, he should. However, his late game and his skirmish potential is insanely high.
Well, you can look at the mid game right now as it's a push down to the bottom side, getting FoFo to get pushed off his own turret. Denies a couple of those waves. You can see 1,500 gold lead as we crest 20 minutes, so not quite the triple that they would have gotten before, but still a solid mid game. They got their Cloud Drake, and well, J-Team still answering the other side of the map, though, going blow for blow as best they can. Top outer not being contested at all.
I think we are going to see, you know, kind of perhaps the first major team fight around this next Infernal, as I think, you know, J-Team may be nervous to give that up, but an engage here on that bottom side.
A lot of crowd control, finally pops the shield. They're going to let that one time out. I don't think FoFo chases for any more than that, but top outer taken, bottom outer defended, and J-Team inch that game within 1,000.
And that was a split map there. However, FPX were trying to regain top control. You could see that they had Crisp as well as Tian in the top side jungle. That's a little bit of a strange decision because if they did have 4 members down there, that certainly could have been a turret dive and an execute upon trying to rip this game open.
But you can see, you know, where the attention is being paid here for FPX. This line of wards right here, these 3 pink wards are setting up for that next Infernal Dragon. That is where they are going to kind of stake their claim on this game and try to make their stand. I very much expect them to be getting their bases off, you know, a minute before the dragon spawns, getting their items bought and establishing position in that river. And then J-Team is forced with a decision. Do you go into an established 5v5? Do you try to trade for a Baron? Do you just ignore it altogether? And that's going to be, I think, a really momentous part of this game.
And it's crazy because I feel like we've gone back in time because we're talking about, you know, how you set up around these key objectives. So much of League of Legends this year is about how quickly you can set up, the fluidity of the map, say, catching people in transition, being able to just generate skirmishes and team fights. And that's why so many people said the LMS doesn't have a chance at this world. They play too slow. They're the old Korea, and Korea doesn't even play that way anymore, right? But we're seeing in this current meta that it's very slow at Worlds right now. Planes were slow, and people were like, when we get to group stage, not going to be that way, fellas. It's going to speed up again. But that certainly has not been the case so far on day one. And maybe why some teams like J-Team actually are starting to look a little bit better than maybe pundits thought coming into the tournament.
Well, it's interesting because the kill counts aren't all that high, but the games are still ending in about 31 minutes and most of the times. That's when the sort of death knell push comes through. So even the average game time's still pretty reasonable for, you know, compared to the regional global averages there. As another bot lane's pushed in, Gimgoon going to slowly chip away at yet another turret.
And to speak a little bit more about that, you know, I'm going to be interested to see, you know, is this teams trying to play a little bit more carefully in the opening games and working through a little bit of stage jitters, getting comfortable here, in their first games at Worlds? Or will that maintain to be the case throughout Worlds? Because we have seen so many times in the past, we come into Worlds, people think they have a read on the meta, and it changes again, and teams bring out surprise picks and readjust, and everyone has to be able to keep up. And that is why sometimes you are seeing certain teams have way more success in the early weeks than the later, or a lot of success in groups but then fail in knockouts. And I'm going to be so interested to track that throughout these coming days.
Yeah, going to be really compelling to see who does what as time goes on. These teams don't play each other very often across the world, and now they get to put it all on the line to see what your year comes down to here at Worlds. And well, it's still a minute 40 on the Infernal Drake, but Baron being, at least the vision being somewhat claimed by FunPlus.
And I think FunPlus actually have a surprisingly good Baron take because they have multiple members that can tank it, as well as Elise, Leandry Tournament, and Kaisa just destroys the objective in general. So this is going to be a part of the area that J-Team cannot play indecisively around. If they think that FPX are on Baron, they are going to have to check. Because, if this composition gets Baron and your win condition is 1-3-1, all of a sudden that just goes out the window for the, the duration of the buff.
Yeah, exactly. They group 5, they can force dives, and we are seeing these recalls all come through for FunPlus, as expected, about a minute before. Zonia is completed now. We're seeing, Tian go back to base, and they are looking to really ramp up for this potential Infernal Dragon, and we'll see which team can get the setup down first.
I'll have to cheer for things other than Wards pretty soon. Phreak spawning in about 48 seconds, and the gold is still very close. I want to point out, 700 separates these two, which, to be honest, is surprising to me. I thought this was going to be a fairly one-sided affair. FunPlus Phoenix thought was going to be far above J-Team. The LMS had been very underwhelming for the last year, and J-Team going blow for blow.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a group that was kind of on paper being looked at as a very weak group. It was supposed to be FunPlus, and then all these other 3 teams maybe fighting for second, right? But FunPlus guaranteed first, and J-Team's certainly showing us that they could compete with FunPlus and perhaps even take the game, which really would open up the group to be anyone's.
Yeah. Would be the surprise of the day, to be sure, as now we have the Drake spawning in 6 seconds. But first, a ward does go down, but there's Cocoon. There's damage towards Koala. Now a poor defensive Scuttle Crab will die as well. Basically also a ward. It gives vision. And you kill it, and it can't defend itself.
Are you asking for a cheer, Phreak?
I'm not. I'm just pointing out what the crowd has been doing, because I'm perceptive. That's where all my stats are in. Now the TP comes in, going for the Infernal Drake. Galio waiting the backlines, waiting for his ultimate. His chance to join the spotlight. Has 1,000 health over the wall. Not going to get that steal. Hana jumped right back out. But the fight's going to come in anyway. Chris taking some damage, but first Koala goes down. 1 for 0 so far. Lilv trying to run away. The trade, though, it's going to be a shutdown coming across the bow of the AD carry. Lilv still running. Might have the root. They're going to find the taunt onto nobody, but a stun on a FoFo. Gnar picks up 1 already. This is still a chaotic battle back and forth. And there is Ghost Mode. Gimgoon trying to chase down on Hana. He's going to flash away and stay alive, but he's going to come right back out pretty soon, and Gimgoon is surrounded. Cannot quite find Lilv. Stopwatch buys some time, but it's J-Team winning the team fight, knocking him right back in. Doinb gonna drop down as well. The kill finally.
They're going to Baron.
Are you kidding me? J-Team take the fight.
The LMS representative smashed FPX in that team fight. Everything looked like it was FPX favored. The fly into the backline from Lwx, the shotgun in full effect.
No, he died to the Baron. He took too much damage. There's no opposing smite. They should still be fine to knock down the Baron, but it's 1 less buff on the team.
And everyone calm down, because they're still going to be able to pick it up, and it is the least worrisome member. It's just going to be the jungler. He's going to be following other people around. But that team fight was clutch from key members of J-Team. Watch FoFo in particular. When Lwx flies in, he destroys him.
Exactly. It's all about FoFo taking down Lwx, and when you're looking at the team fight at this point, you're saying, yeah, of course FunPlus wins it by a mile, but the problem with this composition is that Kaisa is nearly all of your damage, and when Kaisa falls down, you can see they're just struggling to actually take people out. But I do certainly question Gimgoon's choice to actually ultimate the tank jungler when Lilv is sitting there, very close. I think this could be a very different fight. If that's actually Lilv dead during that ultimate and Gimgoon comes out fairly healthy, this is something that FPX could at least perhaps prevent the Baron from being taken.
Yeah, and that's what it becomes, right? Is that's a mistake, but it ultimately led to such a large objective being taken off the map. And now against the 1-3-1 comp that did have a fairly good team fight there, it's very risky to go for another one of those plays, because you botch it one more time, the gold lead will explode. Is that right? Did
No, I don't think
really
that's definitely not right, because Kaisa definitely got some damage
Galio
off.
definitely got his E,
Yeah.
so it's okay. Regardless, though, it was still pretty massive from a lot of really big members on J Team here. And you look at that game, 3,000 gold lead, Baron buff on, I believe, 4 of them.
Yeah, I mean, this is honestly a really difficult position now for FunPlus, because we talked about the ability for FPX to actually force things with the Baron and their 5v5. Well, now also, guess what? 1-3-1 is very difficult to actually shut down. You know, when you do have the Baron buff on the opposing team, you can see FoFo walking up. These Baroned up cannons are just shredding through the tower.
And you can see the macro is still there because there is the 6-man setup in the bottom lane. That's a huge pushing wave, so Doinb has to collect it. Too much gold to let go down, so instead they're going to break the tier 2 turrets in 2 positions. I would like to see a reposition now, try and play towards that last remaining outer, because this Baron is going to be all about collecting as much gold off the map as possible and not giving FPX that counter punch opportunity and grouping up in one lane.
Reason's going to come through. Still a minute on this Baron buff. It will drop before the next Infernal Drake spawns, but by all rights, J-Team should deserve to pick that one up later on.
And now we spoke about it a lot last game, but if you take this Baron buff with your full shop and you just press mid lane and bottom lane, you can deny so much vision away from that Infernal. You can nearly guarantee that that is going to be the area of the next team fight, because you want at least one if you're J-Team. So this is when we get to judge, once again, you know, how far has the LMS come? How is this set up, and can they do it cleanly?
Yeah, and can they actually deal with Lwx, who has built up the Phantom Dancer now, so a little bit more survivability for him, trying to actually withstand the onslaught that is going to come from FoFo. And, you know, perhaps if FoFo is the main threat onto Lwx, we could see Gimgoon actually using his ultimate to just remove this Akali from the fight. If the Akali is going to dive, you know, so brazenly back onto your Kaisa, simply ult the Akali, remove that from the fight, and look to take these 4v4s. And these are the kind of plays that I want to see FPX actually pulling off if they are going to claw their way back in.
To be fair, I think that it was more Lwx brazenly diving
That's
onto
true.
FoFo than it was
Yeah.
FoFo diving onto Lwx. So not much Gimgoon can do in that situation. Doesn't have the mobility of, say, a Kaisa in this fight.
But if you've got Flash, which he has in a minute, maybe he can start to join in anyway.
I love flashing after my allies to save their lives. That's a great time as a top laner.
3,100 gold Baron power play, and now the Siege can continue into the bottom lane. They're going to not quite get the root, but now here comes Sion ulti, forces the ultimate out of Xayah. Here comes the 5-on-5, very tanky Sion. Going to be able to walk away, no kills picked up, but 10 seconds on the Drake, and there is no vision for FunPlus Phoenix.
Yeah, and that is a flashless Koala that is an ultimate off Lilv, so some important cooldowns are taken away from them.
Oh, he missed
Koala
the
has
kill.
no flash, he's in trouble.
They know they can kill him, and that's the damage coming across. They will drop the Nautilus, but will there be the re-engage? 4v5, does J-Team take the fight, or do they just turn, tail, and run? And that's going to be the option. Get away. Don't bleed any more kills.
Yeah, and that mistake from Koala, he had no flash, he had no business being that far over there. It is going to be up to Hana to try to steal this now and prevent a third Infernal.
He doesn't find the smite. That's going to be the kill picked up yet again. So triple Infernal for FunPlus, still fighting back a 3,000 gold deficit.
And a critical error. FoFo wasn't there. There is no way you're taking the team fight without your Akali that is currently 2-0-3. That's Koala, a little bit of inexperience. This is a guy that has been to the world stage before. Not really all that many excuses for an unforced error like that. However, FPX taking the maximum, staggered deaths on support, on jungle. This should allow them to have a much quicker setup, and I expect them to generate a fight off that back.
Yeah, and that triple Infernal is so difficult to actually deal with. It's such a hill to climb now for J-Team here. But thankfully for them, you know, some of these members are not going to be getting the most from it. Certainly Sion not getting a lot of advantage out of this. You know, obviously they support Galio not as well. And this is just a good force from Doinb. Once the ultimate is down, you can see Gimgoon actually looks over for Koala. They're just trying to force out cooldowns. And this is where Koala needs to back off. You can see FoFo is in the mid lane, so you really have no business being here. And let's be honest, that Q wasn't even close to connecting to the wall.
And even if it does hit, right, you're just going to be on the retreat anyway. You need to be falling back slightly further, grouping as the 5. So certainly think that even if it had have come across, still the incorrect position, still the wrong idea there from J-Team in the setup.
And it just feels like impatience, right? Because if you allow FoFo to actually push out that mid lane, then FPX has to go back to mid lane to collect this, then you are grouped 5, and that is very likely just a free Infernal for you.
Because whilst we were talking about the fact that J-Team are missing some important tools, there was, you know, no Sion ultimate available. A lot of that force was also going to be much more difficult to generate. Now with the GA, the game becomes even more difficult to get onto Lwx. We said it's going to rely on the fact that he has to navigate around FoFo. Now maybe he doesn't. Maybe he can just dive in there and wait for the respawn.
All right, Baron is alive. Looking at almost the root, and Lwx stays alive, though, as they keep fighting back and forth for vision. Darkness, though, for J-Team now.
Yeah, and it's FPX who are happy to try to force this. They're trying to make J-Team come to them, and they will look for the turn here. Doinb does have his ult.
First stun, Hana forces a flash away. They're going to hit a wall, though, as the Sion pops the shield. I think pops Stoneplate as well. Has to walk back for this one as they wait for round 2. Baron resets, and Sion's out of the important cooldowns.
You know, J-Team does have mid lane push, but they are just going to start this up, make J-Team come back to them. Hana fairly low here as well, so dangerous situation for this LMS representative.
No flash for the Jarvan. They only have to watch the EQ. They find FoFo. Half HP takes the heal. Still looking for the fight, though. Half HP on Baron, though. They're still hitting it. Half the team is stuck in the pit as J-Team can corral them in and look for the fight. Here comes Galio over the top. Who is going to land the smite for this one as the fight goes to the front side as well? Doinb taking a lot of damage. Very, very tanky. 1,800 on the Baron, and they're not killing it. FoFo finds the kill. He's alone in the pit. If he can find his jungler, they can do it. J-Team picking up the kills. They pick up the Baron against Triple Inferno. They take the fight.
The absolute disastrous Baron there for FPX. Why were they trying to force that heavily? Their AD, their only real source of damage on the Baron, is out of the pit, and they stay on the Baron. J-Team corral them, and they are going to take at least an inhibitor here, if not try to push for the end.
It's only a tank available. The Gimgoon doesn't have the best wave clear. They can just look to push through here, I think.
Yeah, I think they can.
Like at least the inhibitor. We'll see if they can take down the game as well. 5 seconds on the Galio, another 10 on the Elise. They're going to try though right now. They hook on in. Doinb's very tanky. The turns at half HP. The Mega Gnar. He's going to try to pick up one. They will knock down one. But the fight continues. FoFo very low. Lilv almost dropped as well. The taunt in for Galio. But the turrets are gone. Can they win the team fight?
Here comes Lwx.
But here's the squad. Lwx armed to the teeth, trying to take down. Does grab Koala, damage towards the next, but it will be survival. Survival for FunPlus Phoenix.
Yeah, they will live for at least one more fight. Rest now going to be chased out as well. More gold funneled into the Kaisa. However, open Nexus. Baron's still available on one member, and a terrific team fight means that J-Team is so close to closing out this opening game.
Yeah, they really are, but I mean, we have to really criticize this Baron take from FPX. Look at this, Lwx and Crisp are now out of the pit. Why are you staying in the pit here as FunPlus? There's absolutely no explaining this. Then Lwx separates from the team entirely, walks around on the side here. Gimgoon is flashing out as he's going in. Nautilus ultimate is still available, so not only are you going to lose your life, you're going to lose your GA. This was a horribly mismanaged Baron take from FPX, and the LMS representatives this close to being able to actually close out the game.
And you can see that Doinb tried to open the avenue for Lwx to be able to re-enter the fight, but the other members were crowded towards the back of the pit, which meant that they were just split up, and this is going to be the retake of the Nexus turrets. And impressive thing here is the coordination, you know, making sure the turret falls down before you turn for the rest of that team fight means the objective is taken, even if you do get chased out of the base.
We gotta look back to live though. The Elder is up, and that's Triple Infernal. If you grab the Elder for that, that is gonna be insane. They're TPing in for it, and it will be a force.
5,000 gold difference, Baron buff on one member as we're going to see this fight break out right now. Triple Inferno, of course, still a lot of stats. We'll see. Nice stun comes in for Doinb. It's going to be Lilv forced backwards. Has to get away. Does stay alive. No knockups there. But 1,000,000 damage takes down Lwx. A second kill coming across as well. FunPlus Phoenix in a 2 versus 5. You have to believe they can't do it. As now the kills keep coming through. J-Team just destroying everyone they possibly can. There's no Nexus turrets available. There are no champions left alive. The biggest upset of the day, you have to believe. J-Team pushing it right down mid. No one can stop them.
J-Team are just going to take the game against FunPlus here. A huge tournament favorite coming in. It was supposed to be the easy group for them, but J-Team are going to beat them.
What an incredible result. J-Team takes down FunPlus Phoenix.
And around key objectives, the LPL representative forced team fights, and J-Team won every single one of them.
And I honestly can't even remember the last time I saw a team with Triple Infernal lose the game. Triple Infernal is generally an insurmountable lead. Not only did they lose, they lost with that. And this is an FPX that just did not look like they were ready to play here against J-Team.
And I'm so sorry I called Lwx Name, because I haven't seen an 80 carry have so many clangers in a game.
At Worlds, no less?
At Worlds, no less.
That sounds like Name.
Yeah, it certainly does. However, you got to take your hats off to J-Team. This is an organization that has been struggling to make it back to Worlds for so long. The legacy of TPA really was heavy on their shoulders, and they come out and they are able to pick up an opening victory against LPL #1.
I mean, you've got to now question pre-tournament expectations for this group, right? You know, it was supposed to be the 6-0 run for FPX, the domination coming through as they breeze through to the quarterfinals. Now, losing that opening game against J-Team, who knows who's the favorite?
Yeah, absolutely beautiful stuff right there. The whole squad, I think, came through really, really nicely. You had even the unfortunate stuff, right? You had the 3v1 tower dive topside. Well, that's okay. I have to burn TP. I'll come back and take plates. Ended up being that Gnar was actually a huge damage source in those fights. I thought he was actually always really, really massive. Did beautiful stuff there. Bot lane, that was bot difference that game. That was absolutely bot difference. Beautiful stuff by their squad as well. Just amazingly played by J-Team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree. You know, Koala, one of those guys on G-Rex last year that we thought had potential, now changing team. Lilv stepping up in that duo. They won the laning phase, and then the team fight was all theirs.
And I've got to say, you know, as much as we talked up Lwx and his team fight ability, you know, he was just
terrible.
awful in that game.
Destroyed.
You know, straight up, did not have, you know, a single successful team fight. He had all the items, he had all the protection.
Yeah.
He did nothing.
The one good team fight was the base not dying, where they barely squeaked through on that one, and even still, the game went the way of J-Team. So we've got a quick replay to show. It's the second Baron fight, the one that sealed the game, and it was incredible.
And this, the Axe What's Your Move replay. J-Team just wiping them off the map here, and this is exactly the kind of fight that they wanted to take. The team is split up, they're skirmishing on multiple fronts. This is where champions such as that Akali really do shine.
And I feel like when you're playing a tanky comp in the way that FPX is, the first move is to shove them back and make the team fight a group team fight. As soon as it's very spread out, you give your assassins and your Gnar an area to be able to play around and harass. You could see that fight was all about the ability to just keep 3 members in the pit and separate the other 2. And I think that that's just, you know, a great understanding of how to approach a Baron, how to shove out mid lane priority and put them on a timer first. And the setup to the execution was very good from J-Team.
So overall, I want your kind of reads on these two teams right there. How much of this was FunPlus underperforming? How much of it was J-Team beating expectations?
I mean, I think it's both, right?
Yep.
You know, some of column A, it's some of column B. I think that FunPlus certainly did not play, you know, as poorly, especially Lwx. If you look at their playoff run, if you look throughout the regular season, he was generally able to pull off these very aggressive moves. He certainly fell flat on his face here today. But J-Team needed to play very well to be able to capitalize on those mistakes. You don't beat a team this good by accident.
And in general, if you beat Uzi in a playoffs, I expect you to be able to play against Lilv. That didn't happen today, so I think that this is an underperformance, but still, you've got to take your hats off to J-Team because I think that they had very good map reads, and the approach to a lot of these objectives was very clean.
All right, well, we're going to hope they don't follow the shoes of LGD as a top seed underperforming, but I have to bring that up. The last time we had high hopes for China #1, it did not go very well. We'll see. There's a lot more to play. 5 more games for both these squads. There's a lot to play here at Worlds. It's why we play the games. Now, meanwhile, MasterCard is on a mission to bring all League of Legends fans together through the power of one-of-a-kind experiences. The fans of the day are Sophie, Henry, and Sasha from Germany, and Pavel from Poland, who received plushes, scarves, and hats. Sophie also got to watch her favorite team, SKT, win the first game of the group stage, the one squad from Korea who has picked up a win so far.
And that's brave, coming into a European audience and supporting SKT over Fnatic. You got to admire that for sure.
Yep, but it was great. Absolutely some amazing games. We've still got more to play, of course, in our next game. GAM eSports returns to the international stage opposite Splice, so don't go anywhere. Not close to Mega at all.